what's going on, everybody? Andarki Namaskaram. My name is Prithvi Ganesh Mavuri. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Telugus today. We have a really, really exciting guest. I'm Snigdha Nandipati, aka Sandispell. I'm a huge fan of her music. I love her productions. I love her covers that she does. Um, and I've been such a fanboy um, for so long, and it's really awesome that I got to connect with her, get to know her a little in the process as to like who she is, and that she's and what her Telugu identity means to her, and so I'm really excited to delve into that. Talk to her a little bit more about like what she has in store this year in terms of her music and like really get into some cool topics here. Snigda, what is up?
Hi, namaskaram andarki. How are you guys doing?
Yeah. 1 second. I totally forgot to put it
Oh
in.
yeah, I had to remember myself. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us
No,
today.
thank you for having me. It's a
Yeah,
pleasure.
yeah. Um, Asla Nito Matlanapuru, I really had an awesome time, and it was really like um, really cool to see somebody if I'm you to find your identity, your Telugu identity, and how you're connecting with it through your music. I thought that was really awesome, and like people can really resonate with that, especially like my own family members. Chala mandi they want to pursue music, and na cousin ite like she wants to pursue it in a much larger scale than as just a hobby, and she's having a time, I wouldn't say a tough time, but she's having to navigate these questions one faces, like, do I just like um, do completely Western music or like nakete? What feels personal for her is like, Telugu culture and heritage, and I felt like there's some topics there that people like her could resonate, that they can hear
Right.
from you. But once again, guys, thank you for joining. If you guys are just joining for another episode of Telugus, we have Snigdha Nandipati, aka Sandispell. Snigdha, I've posted your bio, but like,
Yeah.
why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'll keep it real short. So my name is Snigda. I recently graduated from Yale just back in May, in the middle of Corona season. Um, I got a bachelor's degree in neuroscience. And now నేను ఇప్పుడు శాన్ ఫ్రాన్సిస్కోలో ఉంటున్నాను. నేను మెడికల్ అసిస్టెంట్గా జాబ్ చేస్తున్నాను at San
Mm-hmm.
Francisco Free Clinic.
Mm-hmm.
And on the side, I'm making music and collaborating with a bunch of amazing artists.
That's
Yeah. Hmm.
awesome. Um, so can you tell us a little bit about what your Telugu identity means for you and how your relationship has transformed as you grew older?
Yeah, so Telugu identity అనేది like I feel like for a lot of people who are born here and raised here in the United States, it's always that battle. Like I guess what some could say it's a battle between the dual identity, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that Telugu identity you grow up with at home with your family when you
Mm-hmm.
go to India over the summer, like for vacation or whatever, versus the identity you have like at school or when you're interacting with your peers around you.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like finding that balance has always been something that was a bit difficult for me growing up,
Mm-hmm.
and I would think that a bunch of other people have been in the same boat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, like my family has placed a huge importance on our culture, our language, and
Mm-hmm.
like our faith, and have really made a point to like raise my brother and I with those values, with that Telugu culture. Telugu
Mm-hmm.
danam అనేది like ఎంత ఇంపార్టెంట్ అనేది లైక్ ఆ చిన్న వయసులో తెలియదు కదా, పెద్ద అయ్యాకే లైక్ అర్థమవుతుంది ఎంత
అవును
ఇంపార్టెంట్ ఎంత విలువైంది అనేది. సో
అవును
యా చిన్నప్పటి నుంచి లైక్ ఇంట్లో తెలుగులోనే మాట్లాడేవాళ్ళం. అమ్మ వాళ్ళు తెలుగులోనే మాట్లాడతారు. మేము ఎక్కువగా తెలుగు సినిమాలు చూస్తాము. లైక్
Mm.
తెలుగు సినిమాలు చూస్తూ తెలుగు ఇంకా లైక్ అర్థమయ్యేటట్టుగా అలా 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 వచ్చింది. అండ్ ఎవ్రీ సమ్మర్ ఇండియాకి వెళ్ళి అక్కడ 2-3 months ఉండి అలా లైక్ అలా నేర్చుకోవడం కూడా అయింది. అండ్ సో అలాగా మెల్లమెల్లగా ఇంకా అలా తెలుగు నేర్చుకుంటూ ఆ కల్చర్ ని అర్థం చేసుకుంటూ అలా వచ్చాం.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, తప్పకుండా. దట్స్ యాక్చువల్లీ లైక్ అది నా ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ కూడా చాలా సిమిలర్ అనమాట. ఇంటికి వస్తే మా అమ్మ నాతో నువ్వు తెలుగులోనే మాట్లాడాలి. ఇంగ్లీష్ లో మాట్లాడితే నాకు
No, school is for English, like home is for Telugu anamata.
Yeah. And అది I think this is a Nelson Mandela quote. ఆయన అన్నారు like it's like you can speak to a person in the same language, but you can speak to his heart when you speak his or her language.
That's so true.
అది నాకు ఎందుకు మరి లైక్ చాలా క్లిక్ అయింది. అండ్ మా అమ్మ కూడా అదే చెప్పేది. ఇండియాకి వెళ్తున్నప్పుడు లైక్ మన వాళ్ళతో లైక్ అమ్మమ్మ వాళ్ళతో తాతగారులతో మాట్లాడుతున్నప్పుడు లైక్ ఆ ప్రేమ వాళ్ళకి ఇంగ్లీష్ అర్థం అవుతుంది లైక్ బట్ ఆ ప్రేమ ఎక్స్ప్రెస్ చేయడం తెలియచేయడం అది వాళ్ళ మన భాషలో చేస్తుంటే అది ఆ మీనింగ్
ఆ ఫీలింగ్ వేరు కదా. అండ్ లైక్ ఈవెన్ కొన్ని పదాలు ఇంగ్లీష్ లో ఉండవు. మన తెలుగులో ఉన్నవి ఈ పదాలు ఇంగ్లీష్ లో రావు, సేమ్ గా ట్రాన్స్లేట్ అవ్వవు అవి. సో ఎంతైనా తెలుగులో చెప్పినప్పుడు అవి కమ్యూనికేట్ చేసినప్పుడు అది ఇట్ హ్యాస్ అ మచ్ మోర్ డీపర్ మీనింగ్ అండ్ లైక్ connect on so many more deeper levels. So.
Yeah, no, exactly. So naakete like my family and definitely ga cinemalu kuda like music enti naaku chinnappudu pedda Chiranjeevi fan anamata inka I mean megastar all day.
Megastar.
Yeah, and so you know growing up I just to keep in touch with that mama like to get she would get the cassette tapes or like ikkada చుట్టుపక్కల ఊర్లో like if they're playing Indra or Dago or something, she would take me like you know that's how I would connect, and that was kind of the part of Telugu culture to really take in those aspects of that culture and heritage. That's what drew me to it. What about it? Having you were born here, am I correct?
I was born and raised in San Diego, so anta ikkade.
Yeah. So what about it like made you want to say like you know what I want to stay in touch with it?
Yeah, so honestly like చిన్నప్పుడు అంత పట్టించుకోలేదు నేను. ఐ మీన్ తెలుగు సినిమాలంటే ఇష్టం, తమ్ముడికి నాకు అవి లైక్ రోజంతా కూర్చొని చూసేవాళ్ళం. లైక్ డైలాగ్స్ అంటే ఎంతెంతో ఇష్టం. లైక్ అతడు అని నువ్వు వస్తానంటే నేను వద్దంట. చిన్నప్పుడు అన్నన్ని సినిమాలు చూసి లైక్ అవి అలవాటయ్యి I think eventually like there was a time like middle school lo, high school lo, I wasn't as connected as I wished I was to the culture, to the language. I think part of it is like middle school lo, you have this need to want to fit in with everyone else, right?
Definitely.
And you like it's the peer pressure is so real. And also at my school it was a predominantly like it was a very small private school. Predominantly white. There's like when I was there were very, very few Asians and like even fewer Indians. And I was the only South Indian in my grade. And in the entire middle school there was one other Telugu girl. And so her and I bonded really well because we both were like very similarly invested in the culture. Like we both watched the same movies and loved to talk in Telugu with each other. But like adi kakunda it was so like there was no one else that really like I guess saw the importance of like Indian culture in the same way that I was able to. And adi kakunda kuda like entaina like Telugu culture I feel like is like slightly different from other like cultures in India, and it's kind of difficult to communicate those differences with other people, especially at that young of an age. Like at that age, like I still hadn't watched Bollywood. I didn't know what Bollywood was really at that time. But all the Indians at like during that age, like at that time, were like, "Oh my gosh, you don't even know Bollywood? How are you Indian?" Like, and I was like, "Oh, why? Maybe I should watch Bollywood. Why am I like watching all these Telugu movies?" So like ఎంతైనా కొంచెం a disconnect ఉంటుంది, and I
అవును.
felt like I really was not as invested in the culture as I should have been at that age.
Yeah, no, నా
But
ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ కూడా చాలా సిమిలర్. లైక్ నా మిడిల్ స్కూల్ హై స్కూల్ ఒకే స్కూల్ అన్నమాట. అండ్ లైక్ దే ఆర్ మై క్లాస్ ఫ్రమ్ మిడిల్ స్కూల్ త్రూ హై స్కూల్ వాజ్ ద సేమ్. అండ్ we even though it was a public school, we had about 83 kids. I was the only
that's
kid of
pretty
color.
small.
Yeah, like it was like private school size. I
Yeah.
was the only kid of color in my school. And
Oh wow.
growing up, like we never really interacted with a lot of Desis or Telugu people in general. Akkada alaga. But I've always like going through these experiences of growing up. Like, I mean, yeah, did I listen to like 90s alternative rock, maybe some 80s rock that like my white peers listen to? Yeah, sure. I can talk about that. But it left like a sense of longing of like, man, I really wish I could connect with somebody who like has these experiences at home where I don't have to
Right.
explain to my friend why maybe I can't. For me, it was like, you know, growing up, like going to a school dance was a big deal. Or
Same.
like,
Same
you
as
know,
like, yeah. Right. It's like you have to
yeah,
explain yourself, or like, I mean, my parents are very, I guess I was a little bit different in that case. I wasn't particularly fond of going to school dances, even though my parents were like, you should go and try it out. I was just like, no, I don't want to do that. But
yeah,
I mean, but still, it's like part of the culture, right? It's like something very new for our families and for our parents. And like
yeah,
navigating that whole thing is, and explaining to them, being that
yeah,
bridge between those is hard.
yeah. No, let's see. Jenny here is saying, yes,
Oh,
call it out. The reason historically black colleges and universities exist in the U.S. is because everything else is a historically white college and university. Every non-white person is navigating white culture in spaces that were never made for them. Absolutely true. Thank you. Yes.
oh, it's Jani right there.
She's
Hello.
right back here.
Hello.
She's
How's it going?
yeah, yeah. So, um, but yeah, like so I didn't want to explain to my friends like, you know, why I felt that way and whatnot. So, I had a very similar experience, like where I almost like at a point when you're growing up, you don't know any better. Like telid kada,
Yeah.
like okay, like let me just I almost started resenting it for a little bit, like or pushing myself away from it, but ultimately it came back to it. But anyways,
Yeah.
let's get back to you. Like
Okay.
I I'm really excited that you describe yourself as a musician, and you know, you sing, you produce. Just tell us a little bit about the role that your music had to play in your Telugu identity or your Indian identity in general.
Yeah, so like I guess the confluence of my musical side and my Telugu side, it took a while for them to both merge. Um, I guess like a brief history of my musical background. So చిన్నప్పుడు 5 ఏళ్ళప్పుడు నేను సంగీతం తీసుకోవడం మొదలుపెట్టాను.
Mm,
I think వర్ణం స్టేజ్ వరకు వెళ్ళి ఆపేసాను.
mm,
Yeah, so like maybe 2 or 3 years అలా నేర్చుకొని ఆపేసాను. And the reason I stopped was because that was around like middle school when I stopped. I was preparing for the National Spelling Bee, and at that time I like had only like so much limited time that I had to choose which one I wanted to focus my time on. I chose the spelling bee because that I only had 2 years left for eligibility, whereas Sangeetam I could always go back to it. It's an art form that you can never stop learning, right? So
mm-hmm,
that was the reason for my choice. I still continue to play the piano though. I've played the piano for 10 years and I taught for 3. Um, I think piano was definitely the basis of my like musical knowledge, like really understanding how like beats work, how key works, how you know, like how harmonies and chords and everything go together.
mm,
So that was definitely the basis of my musical knowledge.
mm-hmm,
I stopped in like I think late high school
mm,
and took a break from music for 2 years. అప్పుడు కాలేజ్కి వెళ్ళాక I was like, okay, I'm gonna try something new. Yale is really, really well known for its a cappella groups. There's like
mm-hmm,
16 different a cappella groups,
mm-hmm,
even though it's a pretty small university.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, I'm gonna audition. I'm gonna try it out, and we will
Mm-hmm.
see what happens. Whatever happens, happens. I
Mm-hmm.
auditioned. I got into a an all women's group called Something Extra,
Mm-hmm.
and I sang with them for the next 4 years of college. And
Mm-hmm.
it was it was a like a pop focused group. Although we did sing some songs of like other genres, but it was mostly
Mm-hmm.
like pop and like top 40s based.
Mm-hmm.
And like I think going through that process of singing with my peers in a cappella and understanding how voices fit together to create harmonies, and like
Mm-hmm.
seeing all of these really beautiful songs come together with just voices and no instruments, it was like really mind-blowing. And I was just like, if only we could do this with Telugu music. Like I
Mm-hmm.
miss the Telugu songs of my childhood. There's some beautiful songs out there at like
Mm-hmm.
from the early 2000s, like early 2010s. Like there's some beautiful music that could be made into such like
Mm-hmm.
such great harmonies, but I didn't really know how to get there. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's when I started just like experimenting with just like creating covers on my own of Telugu songs that I liked. It was very
Mm-hmm.
low key. I just record them on my phone, send it
Yeah.
to my family, and be like, "Hey, give me feedback," and just do it
Yeah.
over and over again. And then eventually, I started like trying to record them on GarageBand and like other softwares on my like musical softwares on my laptop. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is going somewhere. I need to understand how to use GarageBand or how to use like this digital audio workstation, this DAW.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when I found the DDN Sound community. And so
Yeah.
this is a community filled with a bunch of amazing artists from around the country, and I guess now like around the world. There's some
World. Yeah.
yeah, around the world now. And these are artists from a bunch of different backgrounds of musical ability, of musical background. Um, they work together to create collaborations with instruments, with voices, and with
Mm-hmm.
like existing tracks to create remixes.
Yeah.
A lot of DDN Sounds works you can find on SoundCloud and like other places on YouTube.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
D.
think this. Oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, no, no. Please continue.
Yeah. So yeah, the DDN Sound community was really what, like, I guess, helped me cross that gap from
Mm.
a cappella to Indian music and translating that into
Yeah.
like fusion music. And so
Yeah.
yeah, for the
Yeah.
past 2 years, that's where I've been.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. DDN, for those who don't know, is Desi Dance Network, and um, like, so I was pretty. I spent a lot of many hours there, like,
Mhm.
in my early 2000s, like when I was on my dance teams at BU Jalva and whatnot, like, and at that time the community on BTF Bungar Teams Forum and DDN was pretty small, limited to maybe like North America. We'd have some like people from England chime in every now and then, but now like these competitions are worldwide, and
It's
I
amazing.
love like how it came from just like, let me take existing songs and sample certain like bass drops or something, or certain samples, and like use that to like, let me make my sound that I want to. And you do that so well.
Thank you.
Uh, and but Yeah, like one of the things that you were talking about, like with your a cappella time, you were saying you were wishing that you could bring that harmony to some of your favorite music in the early 2000s. I want to get to know you a little bit better. What are some of those songs? Some of these things
Oh,
that like, that really moved you to like say like, I really want to make a cover to this, or something that really inspired you.
mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Okay, I was a huge Harris Jairaj fan
Mm,
when I was in middle school, high school.
yeah.
Like like the first song that comes to mind is Manasa from Munna. I was
Oh
obsessed
my
with that
God.
song. It's so
Oh
good.
my
It's so
God.
good.
Literally my favorite song. Okay, I'm
Really?
sorry. Go ahead.
Wait,
Yeah.
maybe I gotta make a mix of it now. But yeah, it was my
Yes.
favorite song. I would listen to it nonstop
Oh
in the
my God.
car, like yeah, driving like back and forth from school. It was so good. Like all of his songs are amazing. Just like the harmonies and just the arrangement of the songs is so beautiful. So,
Oh,
um, yeah.
wow. That just you hit something because like I didn't know what you were gonna say, but the next thing was like I was gonna say for me it's Manasa
Oh
because
my God.
still to this day like me and I have a group of Telugu friends we call um Jani saying y'all watching him just freak out in
Oh my
person.
God.
That was amazing. Okay. Yeah, no, the yeah, no, we had that song on repeat like we actually um back in the day, I think there was a friend of ours. He went by DJ Siggy. His name was Sahitya Kota. He made a mix with Manasa and another Junior NTR song that we actually danced to, which was really awesome. But
Oh,
yeah,
is it on SoundCloud? Will we be able to
you
find
know
it?
what? He probably still has a SoundCloud. I'll link it to you. It's
Yeah.
you know, we were still in high school. It was like
Mm-hmm.
Bachagal remix that stuff. But like
It's still, okay.
yeah, exactly.
Manasato remix ante.
I know.
Yeah.
It's
So,
hard to touch that, but that's great.
mhm.
Wow, that's awesome. So,
Wow,
how have
that's
you
amazing.
been how have you been able to express your Telugu identity with your music, and what more do you want to do with it?
Yeah, so like around the time when I was starting to like look more into how to like get into Indian music and Telugu music specifically, like I was looking and I saw that there was not much Telugu stuff out there. Like the first things that I had found were Pilichina by Dr. Streamix and JMat, and
Yes.
then like Ammaya Sanaga by Dr. Streamix. Like those were the
Mm-hmm.
first two Telugu mixes that I had found, and I was like, oh my God, like people, like you're actually allowed to make Telugu mixes and people will listen to them. Like I don't know.
Yes.
Up till then, I was like, oh, it'll only get listened to if it's Hindi or if it's Bollywood or if it's
Oh
something
no.
like
Yep.
everyone knows. But
Mm-hmm.
like the fact that he was able to bring Ammaya Sanaga from like a really old Pawan Kalyan movie, well, not really
Just
old, but like
mind
I
blown.
was so shook. I feel like
Yeah.
that really like introduced a whole new generation of mixers and musicians to come in and be like, okay, wow, South Indian music is just as worthy and like people will listen to it just as much and there is an audience out there who will
Yeah.
listen to this stuff. Um,
Tapakunda. Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I think like me and a bunch of other artists, like budding artists, like around my age, have like really started to get into the scene because of like that influence that Dr. Streamix and like Bained and DJ Nupia and like all of these other Telugu and South Indian artists have put into the scene. So
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So what is next for Snigdha Nandipati and Sandispell?
yeah, so what's okay? Let's see. So for Snigda, what's next is I'm gonna be here in San Francisco for the next 2 years. I'm
Mm-hmm.
working at the clinic here, and I'm hoping to apply to medical schools next year. Fingers crossed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the goal is eventually to go into medicine. I don't really know what kind yet, but that's fine. I've got years to decide.
Yeah.
And then as for Sandispell, there's not really a plan in mind right now. I'm working on a couple of projects. I am currently working on a cover of a Telugu song with someone who offered to collab over Instagram. Like, hey, it's cool. It's really cool that we're making so many like, new connections
Connections.
over social media, even despite
Mm-hmm.
having never met them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, a couple of covers. Me and Sweeney are thinking of as Manasuni. She's
Mm-hmm.
one of my best friends now who I've met through this like music journey.
Mm-hmm.
So Sweeney and I are planning on creating a new mashup, like a sequel to our Chalikalam Feels mashup that we released
Oh,
almost a
love
year
that
ago.
one. Mm-hmm.
So that, and then just a couple of mashups, couple of team mixes.
Yeah.
Nothing big yet.
Have you tried to produce something original on your own?
Um, Not yet. I've like tried acoustic stuff. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's not really producing in the sense that I never put it into like I never created the beats using the software itself. It was more just me recording the piano I played and recording my voice and just kind
Mm,
of like adjusting it on my software.
mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know if that would really be called producing per se.
Mm-hmm.
It was more just like an acoustic cover. But
Sure.
producing is something I do really want to try out. I Yeah, I feel like I still have to like learn a few tricks of the trade before really
Yeah.
getting into it. But then at the same time, the only way to learn is by doing it.
Yeah.
So I just gotta step in and do it.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, do you have any words, anything that you want to share for like the Telugu American youth or just people of Telugu Americans, like just um anything that any pieces of advice that you want to say that they want if they want to get into music or anything, like
Yeah.
somebody. Hmm.
I think the first and foremost thing is that it is never too late to like get into music.
Hmm.
And that's something that is really important to know because it can feel like you're behind and everyone else is like knows so much already and has such a basis in music already
Hmm.
that it's hard to catch up. Don't think that way. It's never too late to start, and there's such a supportive community of musicians and artists around you who are always willing to help you and help you grow and teach you.
Yeah,
And so definitely don't be afraid to start, no matter what age, what experience level.
that's awesome. Awesome. Well, I feel like we need to do another session, a part
Mm-hmm.
two, because there's a whole aspect of medicine that we wanted to get into,
Oh
like,
yes. Mm-hmm.
and I would love to talk to, and I feel like there's a lot of common ground there that, a lot to unpack there in terms of like
Mm-hmm.
Telugu identity, just maybe even like just South Asian identity and like their
And
relationship to
medicine,
medicine,
yeah.
healthcare, yeah, and
Patience,
some of the
yeah.
expectations and how to navigate that. And I would love to talk to you in the near future whenever you're
Yeah.
available.
That
But
sounds great.
I have like I usually try to. This is probably the hardest question, and I was like on the fence about asking you this, but um, can you spell Getapan for
Oh
us?
my god. Good
I
one.
I didn't know that the Snigdha Nandipati I saw in 2012 is Sandispell.
Okay,
It
that's
just
actually where my name comes from. So
I
Sandy
got
spell,
it. I
yeah,
got it.
stands for San Diego Speller.
Yeah.
So there we
I
go.
I love that. That was so cool. I really just told Jani, I was like, oh my God, I have like the
Like,
national spelling bee champion from 2012. Because you held it down for us. I really appreciate that. You
thank
held
you.
it down for us.
I'm glad to have repped the Telugu community.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. I love watching the spelling bee and like always seeing um people repping our community there, but that's pretty cool. But okay, fun question. Pesratu or dosa?
Dosa.
Dosa?
Unless it's
Okay.
pesaratu with upma, like bombero upma, but mostly dosa. I
Mostly
had dosa
dosa.
last night, so yeah, I'm very
Dosa
partial
with
to dosa.
masala in your masala. Do you like masala in your
Oh,
dosa?
we all love masala in your dosa.
No, no, but actually, it's really funny. My even though my thing is masala in your dosa, I don't like the masala actually inside my dosa. I like it on the side.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, the only
Yeah,
thing I put inside my dosa is cheese and maybe some vegetables if I'm feeling healthy.
cheese.
Yeah, cheese dosa with like
Wow.
sauteed vegetables, it's amazing.
Yeah. Back in the day, I remember in Vijayawada, I think I had like an egg dosa once. That was like so
Oh,
good.
Vijayawada's egg do Okay, I think I've had one too. It's
Yeah.
interesting, but I liked it.
I
New
really like
dosa.
that. But the cheese, okay. All right,
Cheese is
interesting.
good.
Cool, cool, cool. Well, thank you so much for joining
Thank
us.
you, Prithvi.
Yeah, and we have to do another one, a part two.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm really excited to see what more you come out with in terms of music and what you do. And if I have to say that the Rewind Edition mixtape is like a morning favorite of
Yeah.
mine. I usually listen to it on the way
Oh,
to work. So
yay.
yeah, I had to fanboy. Oh, I am so sorry. Before I let you go, somebody actually dropped a question, and I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
want to like, oh. Okay, Jenny asked, what's her favorite project she's ever done? Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, okay. It's definitely got to be the Decade in Rewind. So that was something that actually came together very last minute. It was like maybe 3 weeks or a month before the end of the year. I was like, okay, this is the end of the decade. And I had just listened to DJ Earworm's
Oh yeah,
yeah, like the decade mashup. And I was like, okay,
yeah,
that'd be really cool if we did that with Telugu music.
Telugu.
And so I texted a bunch of like other musicians in our DDN sound group, and I was like, hey, do any of you want to hop onto this project? I know it's such like a short notice, but
Mm-hmm.
if you want in, like, just let me know and we can make it work. um
Mm-hmm.
a couple of them like stepped up and they're like, I'm game. And
Mm-hmm.
so we put it together and we released it the eve of December 31st, 2019, before this apocalyptic year hit. So,
Yeah, wow.
yeah, that's definitely got to be my favorite project so far.
Okay, awesome. Well,
Yeah.
anyways, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. We'll do another one soon about like medicine and whatnot. Thank you guys, everybody, for joining for another
Thank
episode of
you.
Telugu's. Snigda, I'm gonna let you go, and I just have a
All
couple
right.
more announcements.
All
But
right.
thanks
Great.
again.
Thank you.
Yeah, namaskaram. Chala chala dhanyavadalu. Yeah. So thank you guys for another episode of Telugu's. This was such a fun episode. Connecting with one of my favorite producers and people in the Telugu American community. I just have a couple announcements today. I mean, next week we have. I think right now we're adjusting the time schedule, but some of the people that you can expect on Telugu's and coming up on Masalainurdosa Presents. On our web series, we are having the likes of Lavanya Ande, singer from New Jersey. We're going to have Manaswini Avari, like a professional Kuchipudi dancer, and one of Snigda's best friends. Hopefully getting some more musicians, artists, and even just people in the Telugu community, South Asian community. We have Divya Bala coming up, who is an awesome yoga teacher out of the San Francisco, Oakland area, coming to talk to us about colonialism and kind of how cultural appropriation plays a role in yoga. So got some great things going on. And last but not least, I just wanted to bring in my fiance, Jani, JRPW Services, for a couple announcements for some cool things that she's doing on her platform. And Jani, take it away.
Okay, I hope everyone can hear me. Hi,
Yeah.
everyone. This is fun to join you on your platform. You and I was also just sitting back there writing some comments. So thanks for letting me do two announcements. So the first announcement is that so this month in September is National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. And it's a month that I have just a lot of personal connections to, everything about this month and the messages that are really important to get out all times of the year, but especially in September. So in honor of that, the podcast series that I do called What's on Your Mind, every other Monday now is going to be a mini-sode series that's dedicated to breaking down the stigma around mental health and mental illness. So it's called STFS, which stands for Stop the Effing Stigma. And it's about stories of survival, struggles, and everything in between. So I'm looking for people to obviously listen and listen in, but I'm also looking to have people participate. So I want this to be more of an interactive series. If anybody has a story that's related to mental health, mental illness, stigma, just your experiences, anything like that, I would love to open up the platform for you to share your experience and your story with the world, so that through conversation and everyone just kind of sharing and being transparent about what's going on, we can stop the stigma. And another announcement that's related to the podcast is that I am actually starting my own podcast class. So if you are someone that you've thought about the idea of launching a podcast and you don't even really know how to get started, I would love to be that person to coach you through that. I was someone that kind of learned everything from scratch. I was duped by the million online classes that I saw that offered, free coaching, and then you log in and it's just a pre-recorded message by someone who doesn't actually really teach you anything. But I'm actually having live virtual coaching classes and sessions to walk you through every single step and actually just be there as someone who wants to mentor you through the process. So you can go to my Instagram account, which I'm JRPW Services. I'll write my name in there again. And I got some signups in the link in bio. And then, of course, What's on Your Mind. You can always just DM me if you have a story to tell. But it's called What's on Your Mind. You can find it wherever podcasts are found if you at least just want to listen to it as well.
Yep. And you can also contact me if you aren't sure as to how to get in touch with her. I can put you in touch with her.
Please.
So, once again, JRPW Services, her podcast, What's on Your Mind, is coming out with a great initiative. Stop the effing stigma surrounding around mental health. If you want to share your story, you can DM me, DM her at JRPW Services. I can put you guys in touch. And and the podcast class as well.
Also, if you like us together, you can watch our own series every Wednesday called Partners and Puppies, and you get more of us.
Yeah, exactly. And the last and final announcement for all those budding actors and actresses and artists who are trying to get into Telugu cinema. Two of my buddies, hi Bahu, two of my buddies, Mohan.avi and Pavan Mahendrada, they are doing a short film. And so you can go ahead and DM me or message them on Instagram for their short film. And so if you want to be involved in any, see if you have any role. If you have no experience, that's fine. Just DM them, see what you can do. And I think it's a great opportunity to create an opportunity for yourself. Well, that's all the announcements. Thank you so much again, Snigda, Sandispell, and everybody who is watching. Thank you, JRPW Services, for the never-ending support. I love you. And all right, thank you guys. Have a great weekend. Bye.